right now, so many times in American workforce, it's like you work yourself to the bone when your kids are young, and then they go to college. And now you still have to work really hard because you're at the height of your career and you have to pay for your kids' college. And then finally you get to retire and now you get to travel, only now you may have more physical limitations. And by the way, now your kids are in that rat race.
Hi, I'm Kim Tolson and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance-based private therapy practice and a multi-six-figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. I'm super excited today. I've got Jessica Tapana here with us. Jessica is a therapist. She owns another business about SEO. She's a mom. She's a world traveler. She is the perfect guest for us to talk to and learn from. So I'm so excited to have you here today. I met with her briefly for like a coffee chat to get to know each other. When I heard her story, I was like, oh my God, you have to come on the podcast and tell everybody what you're up to and what you're doing as far as traveling goes and your businesses and all of that. So I'd love to just dig in, have you introduce yourself, and then let's talk about what you've got going on.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've been looking for the past week. I'm like, yay, I get to talk to Kim because you are living the life, right? Like you said, my name is Jessica. I wear about 1,000 different hats between I still see clinical clients as a licensed clinical social worker. I have a group practice that is actually opening our second location right now. So we're in the expansion phase again. And then I have a business that I lead, but I use that term loosely because they're all much smarter than I am with technology, but it helps therapists with their search engine optimization and traveling. My parents were both professors at a university. And growing up, they said that their top priority in life was to show us the world and show us how other people lived. And so this was our lifestyle growing up. We lived in a pretty modest house, but we traveled literally every single time there was a break. If they had to take us out of school to travel, they said that's more important, that we would learn more from the world than we would learn from school. And then I grew up and had to pay for my own traveling, and that a bit of a hamper, but I think my husband, a prerequisite for getting married was he had to appreciate travel. So even early in our marriage, we would sacrifice whatever we had to do some. So I think what's interesting now post-pandemic is how do we have the career that we want and travel? And I think that I think what I'm finding is that there are ways.
Yes, absolutely. We're all trying to make it work for sure. So you're a traveler already, but you have this huge thing that you're getting ready to do. And I'd love if you would just tell everybody about this journey you're preparing for. It's not until January 2024, but you're in the process already of planning this, which I think is really important to just talk to the audience about. Okay, I've got this dream, but there is a lot of prep, especially for what you're getting ready to do to set this all up. So maybe you could tell us about that.
Yeah. So it started, I think, early days of the pandemic, and, we were afraid to do anything. I have a kiddo that gets sick really easily, and then my other one has asthma. And so my family, the four of us, were having basically an outdoor picnic. And I had mentioned that my biggest regret in life was not traveling, was not studying abroad. And my son goes, well, Mom, why don't we do that as a family? And we got to talking, so I tell my son, I'm like, the world journey was your idea. But we started talking as a family about what it would look like. And this dream went through several iterations because at first we're going to go live in 4 different places and really get a feel for the local culture. But my daughter's a homebody who is I don't want to have to move every few months. And so,
oh no.
And so it evolved, and basically we found a really, really affordable world cruise and decided that January 2024, we're going to take off on a 115-night world cruise. We unpack once. My daughter gets to lay her head in the same bed every night for 115 days, but we get to see so much of the world. And when we were started looking at world cruises, like we have a bucket list that this cruise can't even touch, believe it or not, 115 days. And there's so much it can't touch, but it hit like the biggest priorities. Like my son and I were like, Africa, because him and I've been reading books about modern Africa. And we're like, we want to see that. And so like it hits on that. And so, yeah, we're taking off. For the longest time, we put down a deposit, and I wouldn't say we were going for months. I was like, so we think we might do this thing. And I was so timid and so embarrassed to like bring it up. And when I first brought it up to kind of the leadership, each of my two businesses, I really was convinced that they were like going to freak out. And both times I was met with such incredible support, and they're like, we're going to figure this out. Like we can make this work. And so finally, it was, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago that I finally said, okay, I think we're doing this. And then my husband started a YouTube channel last week and put out a video and just like announced it to the world. And we've been in, I don't know, really the last few months, like we've been like, okay, there's a way. We see the way. We see the path. We're actively taking steps to make this happen.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. And I know you and I already talked about it a little bit, but I had so many questions when you told me that. And the big one is the kids. Like that's like a number one major roadblock for anybody that wants to travel long term. Is like, what do I do with the kids? So I like what you're hearing. Like you wanted to adapt to both, like try to figure out a way to see a lot, but keep her comfortable and then let him see, the world, Africa, or wherever he wants to go. That's amazing. So what are they going to do like for school? Like, how are you handling homeschooling and just that, how's that whole logistic going to work?
Yeah, so it will be homeschooling. I guess I have the advantage of the first year of the pandemic. I actually homeschooled and I worked full time.
Nice.
And it was incredibly stressful. And people were like, how on earth are you doing this? My husband works full time. I work more than full time, two businesses, and I made it work. And so I'm like, if I made it work then, I can make it work. And that was for the motivation, obviously, of like worrying about their physical health. And he's twice exceptional. And so expecting him to sit in front of the virtual school didn't feel like much of an option. So we made it work in that unusual circumstance. But if we can make it work for that reason, surely we can make it work for the reason of wanting to see the world. And one thing we had to do was figure out childcare at that point. And so we again have to figure it out because I have to work. There's no way around that, not just because we need the money, although that's the reality, but also because I love my career. I don't like, I can't imagine my life without my career. It brings me such joy what we do as mental health providers, leading a team of incredible human beings. I'm so picky when I hire. So every member of both my teams, I just adore. So I'm going to work, but I'm also going to homeschool. So we started planning out now. I got like some free sample lessons from several different curriculums, and my kids have looked at that. My son will be in 4th grade, which the curriculum we've chosen for math has videos that he can watch to teach him the lessons. Nice. So that's really cool. We've timed how long the lessons take and stuff. And so and then the question was, what do we do the first half of the school year? Do we send my daughter to public school for the first time for 6 months and then pull her out? And we've decided just to homeschool the whole year. So the homeschool calendar year starts in July in Missouri. So this July, we're going to start accumulating hours and meeting all of the requirements. Like July 1st, my kids know, like, we are on, school year starts. We have our curriculums. We actually set up, ironically, the weekend before you and I are talking, this past weekend, we set up our school room. Like, it's all ready to go. It's organized by child and by the things they'll do together. And I've identified like which things need to be taught before we go on our cruise versus which, like social studies, they both have to do certain things with American history and American government according to the standards, which you don't have to meet the standards when you homeschool, but I want to. So we're going to teach like American government and history the first semester, so we don't have to worry. And then on the cruise, I'm such a unique personality. I have a spreadsheet that has every single place we're visiting, what I want to, the date, the average temperature there, and what activity I anticipate we might do there. And then I've been looking up some way to fit that into the curriculum. So kind of each day or each C days, we're going to do the activities to help them learn about the place we're going. So the idea is, okay, so we go on the little river cruise on the Amazon River to see pink river dolphins. They will already know some facts about pink river dolphins. When we go and visit the pyramids, they will already know what the pyramids are and the historical significance is kind of the plan for homeschool. So it'll be fun.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh.
We're ready.
So there's curriculum for each of those things. Like you can just go out there on the internet, I guess, and find this particular curriculum and teach it to them, or is it stuff you come up with on your own curriculum wise for like the pyramids or, the pink dolphins?
Yeah, for what I call the boring stuff. Don't ever let my kids hear me say that. But math, reading for my daughter, and spelling for both kids, we have like a formal curriculum. And then we're not doing like a formal curriculum for each of those places. For science and social studies on the trip, we're doing it's been a lot of like, there are a few different places where you can see where other people have created curriculum. And I've gotten those, like there are some lessons on Teachers Pay Teachers where it's like, it talks about a certain subject and it'll have differentiated reading. So I'll have like 3 different levels of reading on the same topic. And it's like, well, that's perfect. Like my son can read the highest level reading. He's an advanced reader. And my daughter is an emerging reader. And so she can either read the lowest level or we can read it with her and then she can answer the questions. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of, there are multiple websites out there. There's some specific for homeschooling families, which I've been looking at and getting some. It started with searching Teachers Pay Teachers, but I'm like, okay, Pink River Dolphins, do a search and find something that fits that. Okay. Pyramids, find something that matches that. And so.
Wow. That's so cool. So do you have a homeschool curriculum that seems like the best fit for your family? Like, would you recommend one for a family trying to do this, or is it really based on the individual child and all of that?
So we've gone back and forth a lot. All About Reading is my absolute favorite curriculum for teaching reading to my daughter. The issue with it is that there's a lot of books involved, and that is a concern when we're traveling. And so that's been the hardest. So we're going to really front load a lot of reading before we go. And then I'm still trying to decide exactly what to do when we travel, because I think my daughter's going to continue to need some reading instruction. So the question is, do I take this? That's a more bulky curriculum. And my others, like I loved Dimensions Math from Singapore, Dimensions Math for my son, but that also was kind of bulky. And so we've been working on a replacement, and I found a couple options for a replacement for that. Find a replacement for the reading curriculum. And so I'm debating, I'm actually talking to my husband. It might be worth the wait with that particular curriculum to bring it includes like 3 little hardcover books that they're small, but that she reads, and then a teacher's curriculum, and then a kids journal. And so it's a lot. So we're reading that being the priority to bring that, because there's not really a more compact replacement that I've found that I'm happy with. So I'm going to be really interested, because someone listening to this is probably going to be like, Jessica, look at this for for anyone out there that seriously, she'll be first grade. So if you have something that can replace All About Reading for a first grader for the second half of the year, send me an email. I'll give you my contact information. I'm all for that. That's been the hardest one, really.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. It's amazing all the research you've already done on this. Yeah. And just hearing it can be done, and also taking into consideration being on a cruise ship. I mean, it's like you don't have a lot of room. So you pretty much have to be very compact in how you manage this whole thing. Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
And the not having much room, that's been, I have researched so much cruise ship hacks for organizing a room with 4 people. And keep in mind, kids don't usually go on world cruises. There are a few, and there's a family on one right now that I'm following on social media very, very closely. My husband and I'll be like, yay, they posted again, because we're like trying to get all the tips from them. But my husband's going to make a YouTube video. He has a YouTube channel he established this week where he's going to share the tips, because we haven't found enough about taking kids on world cruises. But we went on 2 cruises with our kids in the last couple of months, where we have taken literally an extra suitcase full of all the cruise hack materials and have practiced setting up the room. In the most recent cruise, I mentioned to you earlier, but we decided a week beforehand. I was getting anxious about not having been on the type of cruise. The cruise line we're going on is MSC Cruises, and not having ever had an aft balcony, which is the kind of room we had booked. So we checked, and with 1 week's notice, we booked a 3-night cruise on the MSC Mirabilia, which is a beautiful ship in as close to the location as we could find. And we went on that specifically to try to organize that sort of room and had the kids do schoolwork on it. And we're like using all the hacks, trying them out, seeing which ones we like more than others, and gain a feel for how to organize the room. And we're feeling much more confident about everything, except I wish I had more clothes storage, but I'm feeling confident about our ability to do schoolwork on it and organize that. I'm feeling confident about where we're going to put shoes and how we're going to manage dirty clothes. And there's really cool things that people put up on the internet that when you try them out, you're like, hey, this does save a ton of room.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you guys, we'll post the YouTube channel here under the show notes, but I hope you guys will do hacks and stuff just for anybody trying to do a long-term cruise. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Okay. So one thing you mentioned with the kids is, I guess everybody that's been on a cruise probably knows there's usually like a care team or like a kids club or something. Does this World Cruise have that where you could like send the kids to be kind of taken care of so you can work if you need to, that sort of thing?
This is like our biggest fear. So they say they do. We have called 3 times, and 3 times we have been told, yes, they're going to be running kids club. And we go, you do know we're talking about World Cruise, so there won't be a ton of kids. And 3 times they have told us that they are running kids club. And I still have the fear they won't, because they're not going to have a couple of kids. So a couple of things. First, I've been trying to recruit. I'm on a World Schooling I'm on a couple World Schooling Facebook pages, and I've been trying to recruit other families. And so there are at least 3 other families with kids semi-close to my kids' age that have told me they've signed up. So now I know they won't be only children. So I'm really hopeful that they'll run kids club and that I will be able to do my work when they have kids club. That is plan A. Plan B is my husband and I tag teaming it, and my husband taking the kids out of the room when I have meetings. And so we have plan A and we have plan B. I really like plan A, where they go to kids club, much better. So let's all hope that it works out and they are doing kids club. My kids also love kids club and have been to kids club now on a couple of ships, my son on 3, my daughter on the 2 recent ones. And they're really wanting them to have kids club because they love it. But if they don't have kids club, even, and something else somebody had told me is like, they could have it for segments of the World Cruise and not for the whole thing. But at least now for huge portions of it, we know there will be some other homeschooling families that I'm sure that I've already had some communication with. So we'll try to meet up with them.
Hey everyone, I wanted to break in here real quick and let you know about a company called Alma. As you may know, I have a variety of resources available to therapists who want to bill insurance in their private practice. I have a comprehensive membership to teach you how to bill on your own, but I also refer mental health practitioners to companies like Alma who can do your billing for you if you don't want to hire billers or do it on your own. If this sounds like the kind of support you need in your insurance-based private practice, consider joining Alma. Get the tools and support you need to manage and grow your private practice, accept insurances, and focus on what matters most, delivering high-quality care to your clients. I've shared my personal referral link in the show notes of this episode if you want to schedule an appointment and check them out.
There's actually someone bringing triplets that will be in preschool.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. So I'm doing everything I can.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, we're going to find these kids, and my kids have been in French immersion preschools. And so they have some, because it's a very international crowd, we've been talking to them about even if there are other kids, they may not speak English. And so we're trying to prepare.
Oh, right.
So
yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So
this is amazing that you're doing this. I'm just in awe. I can't wait till you get back and then have you back on so we can hear how it went.
And I'm in awe of your lifestyle. We've already, I've already said, can we do this every year? And my husband's like, honey, I have a career too. Cause he's going to have to more, his career is a little less mobile. So, but yeah, no, I think travel is such a gift to give us. Like we get to live life, but especially the kids, when kids' brains are developing, to be exposed to other cultures and other ways of doing things, I think is just has incredible value. And I know that comes from my parents having set that base for me when I was a kid. My dad is no longer with us, but I often like when we're preparing for this, I'm like, yeah, he would be so beyond supportive because this is what he wanted to set up for us, was this idea of traveling. So I think it'll be good, but it is a lot. And there's so many moving pieces. And my planning brain is like, I feel much more settled. Yeah. Just having been on a aft balcony, like having been in the type of cabin room on the line, I feel much more settled now than I did 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Okay. I can picture in my head.
Amazing. So smart to do like a little test run first. Because, I think people do get stuck in that. They're like, okay, Kim, you're like a digital nomad. You gave up everything. You just moved to Airbnbs, but you don't have to start that way. Like maybe just do a month somewhere and keep your house, and just see how it feels for you, Yeah. So I like that y'all did that, the trial run. That's really great. Yeah. So people listening are probably like, okay, cruises are notoriously bad with internet. How in the heck have you managed to get two businesses coordinated so, you can go do this and not have to worry about your businesses and your clients? And how are you doing that? Like maybe we could talk about that some to give people some ideas on how to structure it. Because I know you spent a lot of time planning that part as well.
Yeah, that part has been the part I was the most nervous about, to be honest. Like that fear is like, I value things being done well in my businesses so much that I'm like, I don't want quality to suffer, whether it's for my SEO business, helping other therapists, or whether it's for my private practice. I also really don't want my team to feel abandoned. That's a huge thing. I care so deeply. So at my SEO business, I had a director of SEO services, Danica, who's amazing. And so her and I started talking about this. And so as of like a couple weeks ago, she was just promoted to chief operating officer, actually. So we now have a COO, even though we're not a huge business. But the idea basically that her and I established is I'm like grandmother role. Like I get to do a lot of the fun stuff right now. Like a huge part of my job is going to all the conferences and hanging out with a bunch of other therapists and telling them about what we do. But also overseeing the day-to-day things. I think by grandmother role, like if she's mom, then like we have the relationship where we're on the phone literally every day talking through things, but we're going to try to back that off because on the cruise ship, it can't be every day, but we're talking constantly, but then she implements stuff. And so when I go on the cruise, we have this kind of like agreement that like, we may plan to talk on Tuesday and not actually get to talk till Thursday because Zoom won't work, and we'll send text and emails we can. We're going to get we've already actually purchased the highest internet package, but just facing the reality that may not always be good enough. We're going to she has the capacity. Her and I have worked together for years. We've actually, oddly enough, we went to undergraduate school together. So we've known each other.
Wow.
Yeah, we both have an MSW. I went the clinical route. She went policy and PPNA, policy and administration. But we've literally known each other since we were 20-ish, I want to say, probably. And so cool. Complete trust in her that she is going to be able to run things. She's we're trying to get it right now to where she runs them with my input, and I get to hang out with staff. I show up right now every single week to team meeting. It might make sense to take me out of that, but I refuse because I love my team. And so our plan is when I'm around the world, that will be my top priority. Will still be me making that weekly team meeting. So I'm plugged in with my team. So I know what's going on, but she knows that as much as I say, that's going to be my top priority, there could be times where I can't make it, and that's okay. She can run the meeting without me if needed. And then at my private practice, I had a clinical team lead who was doing supervision for some pre-licensed folks. And that was all I had leadership wise. I have always been so hands-on, even though I had 15 clinicians, or 14, I didn't have any true leadership team. And so that's where we've been like, okay, there's more restructuring that has to happen there. And so for that, I just brought on a second team lead. And then by the summer, I'm going to have 2 people who are supervising provisionally licensed people and helping as part of the leadership. And then I'm going to have kind of, we don't know exactly what her role is going to be called, but kind of a clinical coordinator who will be everybody's point person for the clinical stuff. And her and I will talk at least every week, but again, she knows she's going to have to be flexible and all that. And she's really, this is someone else I've known. I've known her not as long as Danica, but I've known Christy since I was in graduate school. So I've been married 14 years, and I met her right after I got married. So I've known her for over 12 years. And so we have really effective communication. We know each other's quirks and stuff. And so she'll be a point person. And then I have a client care coordinator who was always only supposed to be with us for a couple of years, and she's moving out of state. And her and I just met and have a plan where even though she's moving out of state, she's going to continue on. And then we're adding in another part-time admin person. So my 2 point people, my admin person, point person, my clinical point person, they work well together. They have an established relationship. I work well with them, and they're going to be flexible with me. And then I told you that all's cool. I'm good with all that. The hardest part from the clinical impact of all this.
Right. Before we hit record, we were kind of chatting about that a little bit. That's, for me, that was hard too, to figure out how to manage that. Yeah.
That's the hardest.
So, do you want to share what you come up with, or chit chat about it, or?
I guess we should. It's a good thing to talk about, but it is hard. It's still hard. But I keep reminding myself why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because it's a once in a lifetime, incredible experience. The truth is, I started my career doing DBT, comprehensive DBT, working with the clients that were the most acute, working with clients who were actively suicidal, the ones that other therapists had said I can't handle. And I prided myself on helping these clients and giving them hope. And as I have had to do more and more and more of the business side of things the last couple of years, I've had to move to working with a little bit less acute clients, but I still tend to have a couple of clients that are needing more care. And I know it would not, I feel pretty strongly it would not be ethical to keep those clients on my caseload, no matter how much I say I'm going to try to prioritize the few hours a week I'm doing clinical work. The truth is, I can't promise I'm going to be there for them in time of a crisis when I'm overseas.
Right.
So I've narrowed it down to just a couple, about 4. I hate saying that number because I never would have said I'd be seeing that few clients, but it's enough. I can't give up my clinical. And so it will be clients that I'm very open with about the traveling. They are clients that clinically are okay if I miss a week, and we'll have a tentative plan and hey, we're going to meet XYZ week. And if it works, fantastic, or XYZ date and time. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, so be it. They'll have backups because I do have a group practice. And so we have some other wonderful clinicians, and for each one of them, I'll have identified a person that if they need to come in and they need an in-person session or an emergency session, my admin will have that list, and those clinicians will know, hey, you're so-and-so's backup. Here's the basics about them, so that they could be fit in, for an appointment with those clinicians if needed. And then I'm thinking there will be some sort of away message. I hate those autoresponder away messages that go up even on a daily basis, but so I'm debating that. Maybe you can give me some tips about because I feel like that's really annoying if every time you email someone, you get this, hey, I may not be available. Here are the emergency contacts. Yeah. I find I'm I don't want my clients every single time they email me to get that. But on the other hand, I feel like that's the most ethical thing to do, to know that because if they're in that crisis mode, having that reminder of those resources. So I don't know. Do you have any advice for me on that? I know before we start.
I don't have that. Yeah. I don't have a responder like that. Hearing you say that is making me think maybe I should have a responder like that. But, a lot of them, what'd you say?
It would be so annoying though, every time you emailed your therapist, you got back up.
Especially,
you can go to the nearest emergency.
Yeah, especially
And you're like,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
was gonna say,
cool.
especially with our businesses in general, I get a million emails a day. It's like boom, but it's just gonna hit everybody with an autoresponder. I don't know. I sometimes I think it's a good idea, sometimes I don't. It just really depends. I'm like kind of where you are. I've got like 5 clients I see. They know like if I'm going to be on a cruise and unavailable, we've already talked about it. You know what I mean? And they already know if they can't get a hold of me, that this is what they do. They call this person instead if it's an emergency, that sort of thing. So, I guess I'm lucky in that respect that I've only got a few and they're really understanding and kind of on board with, what I'm trying to do in my world, and it's worked out okay. I haven't had any problems, knock on wood. There was one that, had a baby, got postpartum and like, acuity went way up, but we decided she would just see a therapist that specialized in that to help her through that part. So, as stuff comes up, we kind of refer out if need be, for whatever's going on with my clients. But yeah, I hear you. It's when you were talking, I was thinking I just did a podcast interview with Jenny Hughes. She has the Brave Collective. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she was talking about, she runs like a membership for therapists about vicarious trauma and that sort of thing. And we were talking about this very thing, like we kind of pride ourselves in like these tough cases and, because I do PTSD, EMDR, dual diagnosis with substance abuse and, stepping back and letting go of those heavy clients, like that was a hard thing for me to let go of. But I also figured out, I couldn't see that level of acuity trying to do this lifestyle that I'm trying to do right now either. So, hearing you talk about it, it's like I think we've got this ingrained in our heads a little bit, like it's not okay to let go of the tough clients or something, or only have 4 on our caseload,
What I try to remind myself is like there can be phases of our career too. And one of the things I think is amazing about this field is even within the field of mental health, whether, certainly as a social worker, I feel like there's some added flexibility, but even if you're just like, I'm just going to do counseling for the rest of my career, there's this great flexibility that we have to specialize in different things and to work full-time, part-time agency work or private practice. And so I try to remind myself everything can be a season. And I'm telling myself that a lot. Like right now, so many times in American workforce, it's like you work yourself to the bone when your kids are young. And then they go to college. And now you still have to work really hard because you're at the height of your career and you have to pay for your kids' college. And then finally you get to retire and now you get to travel, only now you may have more physical limitations. And by the way, now your kids are in that rat race. And I'm like, I'm trying to flip that on its head. And during the years where I have my babies and can have that physical, like my kids are going to be 10 and 7 when we're doing this. Well, 10 and 6, and my daughter will turn 7 on the cruise. We have already talked about birthday plans. And like what a great age. It's before they're too cool for us. I think like my son, I'm loving age 9. I can't wait for age 10. It's going to be fantastic because my mom says like 10 to 13 is the best. I hope she's right about that. But we're going to be at that age where they still want to be with us and we're going to be able to explore the world. And it will impact their development. It will impact their worldview. And so if that's my priority and me getting to see places I've never seen, we're going to a few places I've been, but tons of places I've never been. We're going to see 4 continents. If we are going to prioritize this right now, then that does mean I give up some of the clinical work, but I still have my license. I still have my passion. And maybe when I come, maybe if I decide I would love to go back to doing comprehensive DBT, but that may have to wait until like my kids are in high school. And at that point, I may want to take a refresher through behavioral tech or whatever, but I can do that. Like the great thing is my degree doesn't go away. My license doesn't go away. I just need to think when I go back, if and when I hit a phase in my career where it makes more sense to see those high acuity clients, I need to accept it. May take some additional training or consultation or supervision, but we have the ability to change our mind about that or to enter a new season. And that gives me great comfort. Like that.
Yes.
I just keep reminding myself of that it's okay for
love that
to look this way.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah. Well, you're such an inspiration and how organized you are. It's like you could probably write a book on how to prepare for this.
Oh, the organization is hilarious. This weekend, my husband was laying on the couch and he's like, okay, like I'm looking up what we're going to do. I'm looking up the Missouri state standards because I want to make sure that we're meeting them. I was like, honey, I already have them printed out and by age and have figured out what we're doing which semester. And again, like for anybody listening, like if you're homeschooling, I know in our state, you don't have to follow the state standards. It's a choice we've made knowing our kids may return to public school or they may not. We don't know. But because we don't know, we're giving that option. And my husband was like, of course you have. I was trained to be helpful. And I'm like, well, let me do the organizing. You like teach what I tell you to teach kind of thing. He's great about that. But I think no, the organization is what convinces me that we can do it. Because even when I think I told you, we had put a down payment on this thing. And I still was telling people, I'm like,
yes,
maybe we might do this. And was like, I couldn't say we'll do this until I had like looked up the average weather in each place. And like, it was beyond just come up with a budget. Like we had been saving for years. We found the most affordable cruise line, all of that. Like the money, of course, is a whole other thing. And we could have a whole episode on that, although my husband's much better to talk those. But the bottom line is like, I needed to know that we could make it work homeschooling wise. I need to know that I could do it business wise. I needed to know those pieces. And so all of that planning is what's enabled me now to be excited. And just in the last couple of months, be like, we're doing this. It's going to be awesome. And now I'm excited. And I just,
oh my gosh.
It was Black Friday when we originally put the deposit. So it literally took months for me to get to feel good enough about it. But
to say it out loud.
Yeah. And the first few times I did, I just whispered it. I was like, we're going to do a thing. So maybe kind of, sort of, we have a dream.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait to hear how it goes. And I'm going to follow that YouTube channel and just watch every minute of it. It's so exciting. Yeah. So brave to do it too with the kids. Amazing.
It'll be an adventure. Things will go wrong. Things won't go as planned. I'm always interested in that, but I think it'll be worth it. Whatever happens, it'll be worth it. We're going to be, and you can't replace that togetherness that we're going to have as a family. And I think it will make me a better therapist to have followed my dreams and to be finding the lifestyle and the lessons that we'll learn. And yeah, I really, really, truly love my career. I think that part of loving my career though means it sounds so cliche. I know how cliche, but it means myself, it means creating the lifestyle that I love, because isn't that a lifestyle that meets the basic needs of income and all of that, but a lifestyle also that's consistent with my values, that's consistent with the things that excite me. As we say in DBT, a life worth living, like accumulating positive experiences. These things are so consistent with what we tell our clients, like, I want to live the life I encourage my clients to live. And I think that's what this is for me and for my family. And it's okay that it looks totally different than most families look, you know?
Yes. Amazing. So if people want to get a hold of you, how do they find you, especially the SEO business and all of that? Where would they find you?
Yeah. So my email is Jessica@simplified SEO for search engine optimization consulting.com. And our URL is the same for the website, is just simplified SEO consulting.com, or just Google simplified SEO consulting or SEO for therapists. We'll show up for that.
Yeah. And you guys are a great company. We just, Lisa Lovelace and I just released that course for multi-state private practice expansion. And we included a training you did in there about like SEO, and it's really good. So, if anybody's looking for SEO, this company, I would highly recommend based on what I've heard from others and that training you did for our course. Well, it was for Lisa's course and then we put it in the new course, but yeah, it's good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for having me and for everything you're doing for our profession, because you're helping people,
thank you.
I don't know, figure out our own unique way of doing things. And I don't know, for me, it's so inspiring just to hear that other people are doing this. I'm like, I knew I could after making it through COVID and being, managing my businesses remotely from my home for a year. I'm like, I know this is possible, but hearing you talk, I'm like, okay, it really is possible. And hearing some of the people that you're speaking to and being like, this is a thing, like we can be full people living fulfilling lives, following our dream to travel and be helpers. You can do both.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And on that note, we'll end, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you loved this episode, please leave a review.